Well, let's move on because, as we mentioned, that showdown between Anthony Albanese and Elon Musk seems to be the gift that keeps on giving. But between all the theatrics and the mudslinging, it can be hard to decipher the important details about this dangerous censorship crusade that the Labor government is undertaking. So to understand it all and how it could impact us, let's bring in tech expert Trevor Long. Trevor, thank you so much for joining us. Look, firstly, let's start with the basics here because it seems to be getting very confusing. Can Elon Musk actually physically do what the government wants him to do and remove every single video of the church stabbing as they crop up?
I think it is possible. I think it's challenging, though, because think about how stuff spreads on the internet. One person posts a video, someone else grabs a copy, and then they repost it. Now, it shouldn't be hard for X or Twitter to find that video using digital searching, but the fact is it's not an easy task, but it should be a task that we expect of these platforms. You know, if there was a crime committed on a platform, and you know, let's be real, the New Zealand shooting massacre was committed live on social media. We needed that to be taken down. So there has to be the I guess the premise for these companies to take stuff down. The question is, what's the threshold? As David Littleproud said, what's the threshold for content that must be taken down, and what's the threshold for content that, frankly, people are allowed to post if they choose to?
Yeah, and this is exactly the problem, Trevor Long, because who can possibly decide what that threshold looks like? That's the problem.
Look, that comes down to law, and I'm not a lawyer, but it really comes down to, is it an illegal act that's being shown or committed? Is it illegal to post it? Now, actually, we probably have better freedom of speech in Australia than the Americans do. They just don't realise it. But, you know, in this case, the government is posturing essentially to try and protect citizens from seeing this content. And look, I don't have a major problem with that because it is pretty gruesome stuff. And the problem I think that we have is you can just stumble across this content. And that's the challenge we have as a society is, are we ready for that? Are we ready for our kids to be just scrolling through sports scores on Twitter and see this kind of gruesome stuff? It's a challenge that I don't think the platforms nor the government can really understand yet. And I don't think the government genuinely has the clout to take this on, because on what leg are they standing to actually ask this of Elon Musk?
Absolutely. And look, you know, the government, and it seems to have bipartisan support now to strengthen the current laws. How will this have an impact on us and the way we access our social media?
Well, I think the government's on the balance here because we had 10 years ago, we had a long conversation about net neutrality and internet filters. We don't want to be China. When you're in China, the Tiananmen Square Wikipedia page is very different to what we see here. We don't want that. We want a free and open internet. But what we do want is protection for people, especially young people, and, you know, the committing of crimes against children and terrorism acts, things like that must be protected. But I don't know how the government actually articulates that in a way that a social media platform can react to. And I think this is going to be a lot of posturing from Elon Musk because he loves a headline and he loves to fight the fight as if he's the average man in America, when he's absolutely not. He is pretty much an egomaniac billionaire. But he does have some correct points here. And by the way, he does say they have removed the content from view from Australians. So it's available still around the world, but for Australians, they can't see it anymore.